Hey everybody, this is Freddy with LeviathanScuba.com. You know what? I did a search on scuba diving lights and I came up with thousands of pages, thousands of different kinds. How the heck are you going to know which one to choose for what you need? We'll get to that in just a minute. So, why do you need a dive light? You might be that newer diver that says, I am never diving at nighttime, so why would I need a flashlight? Well, believe it or not, it is obvious if you dive at night, you can't see without one, right? But what about daytime use? You realize that going 24 feet underwater, even only 24 feet, it filters out all the red light. So you can't even, the colors start to change to bluish and gray and green and things like that. So when you're looking at a beautiful plant or coral or fish, you're really not seeing the true color of that animal or that plant. So the deeper you go, the less light there is, the more you have a need for a flashlight. Also, there's a lot of dark spots when you're scuba diving. You look into a hole, you want to see what's in there, the lobster that's hiding back in the crevice. You can shine a flashlight in there, under ledges, things like that. If you've ever gone inside of a wreck, it gets dark inside the wreck, right? Even if you're just kind of swimming in the passageways in the very beginning of it, it gets a little bit darker. Sometimes when you're diving, the sun goes behind a cloud or something and it gets a little darker as well. There's lots of times you can use a flashlight, even if it's just signaling somebody else underwater to get their attention, okay? So, in determining how to choose a dive light, you're going to determine your need first. What do you need a dive light for? Are you going to night dive? Are you going to go cave diving, wreck diving, things like that? Have you found that you might need to spot under ledges or photography, videography to bring out the true colors of what you're taking a look at it, okay? So when you determine your need, it's important to understand that depth is going to play a part of it, right? So if you're a recreational diver and pretty much 130 feet is going to be your limit, then you need to make sure your flashlight's rated to 130 feet or more. And most of them are, okay, for recreational dive limits. What if you're going to go deeper? If you're a tech diver and you're going to hit 200, 250, 300, there are people that go 600 feet deep. Your regular recreational light is definitely not going to work down that deep. They're just not rated for it. They're not built that tough and that strong. So you're going to need something special according to your need. Okay. Also, what if you dive murky water? It's daytime, but it's really murky. Sometimes that light can penetrate the murk a little bit and kind of help you see what you're looking for, spot what you're hunting for, things like that. Also, in determining your need, are you going to be doing any kind of underwater work or commercial diving? For example, underwater archaeologists that I know, they use special lights. Underwater photographers, when they light up big, large areas like inside caverns and things like that. Guys that work on rigs and stuff where they have to have their hands free. So that's going to determine your need too, okay? And some of those needs cross over into recreational. So the first question I'm going to ask you, or you should ask yourself is, or give it some thought really, your primary light is going to be different than a backup light. So do you want a primary? Do you want a backup? The answer really is you want both. It doesn't have to be that expensive, right? So your primary light is your workhorse. That's the one you're going to use every time you want to light. It's the one you use at night. It's the one you use during the daytime. It's the light that you've planned to use as a flashlight. Your backup is really there to get you out of trouble. Okay? If your primary light floods, if the batteries die, if it grows weak, the switch malfunctions, something like that, you may need in certain situations a backup light to get you out of trouble. At nighttime, it's a great one. So what you're seeing there is the amp, the Princeton Tech amp. And then that one is the League, okay? And you can get them in all kinds of different colors and they're kind of fun to do. These are, for the most part, they are backup lights. So, for example, the League, it's going to be 420 lumens. It's completely sealed plastic. And it's going to be okay. It's not super, super bright. It's very affordable. It takes 4 AA's, and it's a good backup. These amps, as we'll show a little bit later, they're much smaller. They're only like 16, 17 bucks. They can be a little flashlight. They also have cones that fit over the top so for different colors for marking, things like that. That's basically a backup light, okay? Something affordable, less features. It'll get you out of a jam. Okay, now before we continue, I think it's important for you to determine your budget, right? Determine your budget. And flashlights for underwater use are typically going to average more money than a light that you would buy for on-land use, right? They're going to start in the $45 range approximately for a primary light. And that's going to be on the more affordable scale. You get up into some of the photography and videography lights and they can be multi-thousands of dollars. And before you say, gee, I don't want to spend, $100, $200 on a light, when you start to see what they can do for you and the safety that they bring, and you'll never have to buy another one because their quality, you might change your tune just a little bit, okay? And if you can buy one flashlight that covers multi-uses, as we'll get into in just a little bit. So the difference between a cheap light and a more expensive light usually is your frustration level, right? I can't tell you how frustrated people get when they take that super cheap light down and it floods, and now they don't have a flashlight for a night dive and they're renting one or borrowing one or something like that. Okay? So you do want to figure out your budget for a light, do your research, choose a good one, buy quality. Okay? So next, the styles available to you are so many different types of styles out there. There are just so many. Well, let's start out with a very common one. They've been around for a long time, the pistol grip flashlight. These typically are larger. They're kind of high power. You're going to find like the Tusa here, the TUL 1000, that's the newer version of a pistol grip, so it's much smaller than that previous one. So some of the modern technology that goes along with them. So a pistol grip typically takes many batteries, C-types, D-types, bigger batteries. Some of the rechargeable ones, they have a large rechargeable battery, that sort of thing. You can get the smaller ones now. They're starting to modernize, which is good. I'm going to say something to consider with the pistol grips is how much does it weigh, because it's got to go in your luggage. And nowadays, we have the airlines that limit you to 50 pounds per bag, right? It's pretty easy to get there with dive gear. How many batteries you need to bring with you? If it's C-types and on high, they're only going to last you, 4 to 6 hours. How many dives does that get you at night? How many batteries do you need to bring with you, especially if you're in a third world country where you can't find C-cell batteries, right? Okay, so something to think about that. The next one is your most typical right now, and they're what I would call a handheld flashlight. That's the Sea Dragon 900 lumen. It's a very small light. The Tovatech, it's also very small, handheld. They take, AAAs, AA's. So for example, here's the 900. Look how big that is. I mean, that's a nice size flashlight. Mounts to your BC, put it in a pocket. Very strong, rechargeable batteries. And then you have, like, for example, the Tovatech, right? Again, very small, nice beam angle. And nowadays you can even get them very bright. Like this small flashlight to get in 900 lumens is incredible. That's fairly recent that you've been able to get that with the LED technology and the rechargeable batteries, okay? And many, many kinds you can see here, handheld, from the affordable to the super duper tricky expensive, okay? Next, you're going to talk about tray mounted, and they're typical for videography and photography. You can add a camera to the tray or a GoPro to the tray or other lights to the tray, and you have them multiple different ways to physically mount them. Even a tray mounted battery, you can have a handle that you can put on it so you can carry it. You can be your light that you use at night, just handheld. If you don't want to put the tray on it, you can use it any way you want to, like that. Okay? You can get a helmet or a head mounted. Typically, these are going to be used by people that want their hands to be free, okay? So people that are working underwater, people that are doing, you know, looking for treasure underwater, or perhaps they're doing photography and wherever they turn their head, they want it to go. They need their hands free. Spear fishermen, they like the flashlight on their head, that sort of thing. I don't personally like them for night diving because to turn them on and off is a little trickier when they're on your head. Also, why do you want it off? If you've done it at a night dive, you know that they attract all kinds of like underwater bugs, little worms, little fish, things like that. And you don't want them right around your face. It just gets, you know, just kind of creeps you out a little bit to have all these little bugs and touching you and little worms sliming around and all that kind of crazy stuff under the water. So when you have a handheld flashlight, you either cover it for a minute, shine it away from you for a little bit, hold your hand out, or shut it off for a little bit. And go buy other people's lights. Let all the bugs head to their flashlight. Then turn yours on when you need to take your picture or do what you need to do. Okay? So then you have something that's called a wrist mount. Similar need. It kind of frees your hand up still. It's easy to move your hand around. They have different sizing there, and they can be portable, self-contained with the batteries in them, or they can be attached to a cord that goes to, say, like a canister style. That's our next type of light. So they can fit on a wrist, or they can be mounted on your equipment. So a lot of the cavers use the canister style, and a lot of photographers can sit it on the bottom, light up a big area, or you see the handle there, you can grab and hold on to it. The much bigger batteries, much heavier batteries, but they last a long time. They usually have an awful lot of power. A lot of tech divers take those with them because they can withstand the pressures. They light up a big area. They're very reliable. They are physically connected to a cord, so there are some potential areas for leaking and things like that when they do go wrong, but typically they're sealed very well. And a lot of commercial operations use those. Kind of neat. But just for the recreational diver, they're usually very, very heavy and more power than you're ever going to need on a 1 hour long dive or an hour and a half long dive. Okay. So our next category to chat about, and it doesn't sound that important, but battery types. Okay, so a lot of your smaller batteries today, AAAs, AA's, that's very common in a lot of the flashlights like the Leak. Here it takes 4 AA's. They're easy to find when you're on a trip. Even in a lot of other countries you can find AA's and AAA's, are very common. Some of them use a combo style. They use like a little device that holds 3 AAA's, then you slide it in. If you want to upgrade that, you can take that out. You can buy a larger battery that's a single battery that takes the place of 3 AAA's that slides in there, and it's rechargeable. You'll see that in the Sea Dragon 900, this little light here. You can see that extra large battery there. That would be the same power as 3 AAA's, and on a light with a LED, it lasts a good long time. Charges up really quick. Okay, so the one thing to keep in mind is if you're using those kind of batteries, you need to bring spares with you. I even like to have an extra of my rechargeable. I can keep one charged up, come in from my day dives or whatever, swap the battery, throw it on the charger, put the new one in, and keep going. Now, some have very exotic batteries. I was on an island, not that uncommon of a place, Cozumel, and we had some dive computers and some dive lights that took a CR123. Which today is much more common. When these first came out, they touted longer battery life and brighter lights and things like that. But we had 3 of them go dead on a trip. Could not find them on the entire island of Cozumel. I actually paid a guy to go over to Cancun. He went to a photo store. Ended up costing me about $60 to get 3 batteries because they were exotic at the time. But you have some of the bigger lights like this. This battery only fits this style of light, and you're not going to find one somewhere else. This one has a totally different big battery inside it that's rechargeable, and you're definitely not going to go find that in a dive shop, you know, in another country. So keep that in mind with the exotic. There's nothing wrong with it. There's a lot of advantages to those. However, they are going to be harder to get to if you don't have a spare with you. And let me tell you, Murphy's Law. You're out to sea on a liveaboard. You've got all your beautiful camera equipment ready to go, and you've got your light, and guess what? It takes a special battery, and it gets a little salt water on it, corrodes it, and it's no good. Okay? And you can't use it. You can't get another one. They're not coming back into port for you, so you're kind of done. So keep that in mind with your battery types. Okay, the other thing is when determining your needs, your beam angles. What the heck do I mean by beam angles? Okay, so you have two types and then varying degrees of those. Okay, so if you're going to be pointing things out at night, signaling others under the water, for example, the Sea Dragon 1300 lumen, great light, super powerful. It has a spot beam. So this isn't even set to high, but if you look at my table here, you can see a little ring around the outer edge that's not as bright, and then you see the spot in the middle, and it's really bright, okay? That is awesome for spotting things out at nighttime, okay? And it's great for signaling people. You don't want to shine it right in their eyes, that sort of thing, but you're going to get a lot of attention with that. The problem with that is if you're doing any videography or photography, it'll totally bleach out the subject. You can't aim it right at the subject because you see that hot spot, and a lot of times it just bleaches it right out of there. Then you get into the wide angle beams, and they are much better for photography. So there you see the Sea Dragon 1000, and then the 3000, that's a lot for videography, and I have the 1000 here. So just to compare it to the 1300 you saw, if I turn it on, you see it's got there's no hot spot. I can even move it around and it's hard to see. Now this is set on the medium brightness to show you, but you can easily still see the wood grain here on the desk. There is no hot spot. Typically, they're a much more wide angle beam, so they illuminate a larger area. Can you see the advantage of that underwater? So if you have a spot beam and you're looking at something this big, everything else is dark at night, okay? Which is great when you're the leader and you want to point out that octopus or that sleeping turtle or whatever. It's not so good when you're just diving and you don't want to blind the critters and you don't want to blind your other divers and you want to shoot video or photography underwater. When you have the wider beam, you have the whole area lit up with no hot spot at all. So much easier on the animals and so much easier on the other divers' eyes, things like that. So that is kind of an advantage not to bleach out your subject either. Okay, so they're great to dive at night. Okay. Let's talk a little bit about bulb type. Your older technology lights that you might remember, whether they're land or sea, you remember they were the incandescent style. You turn it on, it had a little bit of an amber glow to it, a little warmer light. They weren't the greatest on battery life. They weren't ultra super bright. But that was older technology. You can still find a lot of lights that way. If you're going to buy one used off of Craigslist or eBay or something like that, a lot of those lights, the divers are dumping them because they use the C-cell and D-cell batteries and they're super heavy to take, and then they have the incandescent. Then you had the upgraded incandescent, which was the xenon bulbs, right? A little whiter in the spectrum, a little brighter. Much more powerful than the regular incandescent. But again, because they took so much more power, it's still older technology than we have today. They're less expensive. They used up battery life a lot quicker than the regular plain incandescent bulbs. But the advantages you got was a little bit brighter and a little bit whiter in the spectrum. Okay, then you jumped up to the next ones, right? Whether they were halogen or the HID, the high intensity discharge, right? You have a lot of different kinds of lights like that. You saw them in the tech lights, the guys that would go deep. This gave you maximum brightness, but you needed a lot of power to run them. Consequently, when you're underwater, a lot of power means a lot more battery, which usually means a lot more weight, okay? So that would be the positive would be brightness, would be powerful, penetration, even some good color reproduction, but the negatives would be the less battery life and usually substantially more heavier. Let's get to the one that today is the most popular, and that is LED, light emitting diode. That's what most of the lights you're going to see today that are your upper end dive lights. They have so many more advantages. You can have a tiny battery that runs that thing for a long time. You know, like these amps, they run for 72 hours, and they do that on a AA battery, right? And so it lasts a long time. Now, they're not super, super bright, but your other ones, you can get super bright LEDs. They're a whiter light in the spectrum, so great for color photography, bringing out the reproduction. You have big batteries like that are rechargeable LEDs that are hugely bright, last a long time. With the LEDs, you can dim them. So many of the lights that have the LEDs have a function where you can have bright, medium, low. Therefore, it lasts a lot longer on low. So for example, the color type of that 4500 we just saw, this one here, it's going to last you, 10 to 12 hours on low. It's going to last you at least 4 to 6 hours on high. And that is 4,500 lumens. That's hugely bright. You never need that night diving. That's only for photography purposes, but even during the daytime when you make it bright to brighten something up or a cavern or something like that. Okay, so the benefit of LEDs is they're a lot lighter because you can get away with a much smaller battery. And the batteries can be easily replaceable and or rechargeable. So very nice. All of these are LEDs that you see right here, and that's typically what we sell the most of. Okay? So let's talk about some of the features, and I can't talk about all of them because they absolutely are almost infinite. Anybody that wants to make their light stand out, they are going to add some kind of a cool feature. But some of the more typical ones you're going to see today are, for example, some lights have a red beam. So why would you need a red beam? At night, for night diving, the fish can't see it. It doesn't interfere with them. It doesn't blind them. You can see with a bright enough red, you can see what you're looking at. Obviously, it doesn't bring out the right color, but you can easily see to do your night dive. It's not going to attract a lot of the bugs, a lot of little worms and stuff like that because it's not bright. And therefore, it's a great light to kind of travel with until you see that something, that coral, that plant, that fish that you want to spot or highlight or take pictures or video of. Then you can switch them over off the red and onto your floodlight, for example. Okay? So that's very common. Another feature is, let me show you here. Okay, you have multiple features within one light. So I'm going to show you here on the desk just to give you an idea. So I'll turn it on here. This is the one with a spot beam. And you can see that it has different levels, but it also has a strobe. You see that? And if I switch it again, it has SOS. So this is an SOS signal. It's doing it all by itself. I'm not pushing the button. Okay? And then you have your multiple settings, so you can go to bright, medium, lighter, that sort of a thing. Okay? So why would you want that? Night diving is, if you're away from the boat just a little bit, you can hold the light up, shine it at the boat, put it on strobe, boom. I use it underwater sometimes if I'm the group leader, because you can't tell who the divers are underwater, and sometimes you can by their light, but I'll put it over my head, I'll put it on strobe. That's to get everybody's attention, and they know that that's me. Or I'll put it on strobe to show them, hey, I found something you want to see. I got an octopus over here, I got a sleeping turtle, or I got something cool coral. A lot of guys, if they don't have that feature, they'll just spin the light in a circle around shining what they're looking at. That attracts your attention because of the movement. Well, so does the strobe, and then so does the SOS. And you can signal the boats at night, okay? I showed you how some of them have multiple brightness settings. Great feature. I never dive mine on the brightest light at nighttime. Don't need it. Your eyes are more accustomed to the dark when you're under the water. So put it on the lowest setting. Your battery lasts a super long time, okay? Some of the features that they kind of do crossover is, for example, this amp right here. You can see the different colors that it comes in, but the amp light is a small flashlight. It has a bottle opener, it comes with a lanyard, and it has multiple color cones that you can get for it so that you can put those on the end of the flashlight. So it comes with a white one, you turn it on, it glows. If I switch that out and put a red one on, it's going to glow red or blue or green. Why would you want that? Well, the lanyard attaches to the back of your tank and the light floats. So I'm diving with a blue one. You have a red one. Underwater at nighttime when it's kind of dark, unless I shine my light on you, I don't know who it is. But if I know that you have the green one or the blue one or whatever, then I know that that's you. And you know it's me because I have the red one or whatever color. Okay? I even have one of our divers, 86 years old, man. He's a great diver. And he looks like a Christmas tree at night. He's got like 5 or 6 different kinds of tank lights at night. And he's flashing and blinking and all the fun colors. And, you know, it's really kind of cool. Now, again, that light can serve as a backup too. You pop that cone off. You got about 100 lumens of a flashlight that can get you out of a spot. So that's kind of neat. That's kind of neat. Another couple of lights you'll see here, like the aqua light, different kinds here, they have replaceable heads. So there you see the S and you see the aqua light Pro. That's the head of the light that can be exchanged just by unscrewing it, screwing a different one on. There's 3 different kinds you can buy, 90 degree, 100 degree, 20 degree. So you have a spot beam. You have a wide angle beam like a flood, and you even have an ultraviolet beam available to you. Okay? So you simply take the light. This one has a knob that you turn, right? And you can make it brighter or you can make it lighter. That's great for videography. This one has a push button, right? And so you can change the different levels of brightness. But if I literally unscrew this off, I have these other 2 here that you can screw right on. So the nice feature about that is you determine, what is my dive tonight? Am I doing photography? Am I just leading the dive? Do I want a spot to show people? That kind of a thing. Or even, you know, the ultraviolet. What the heck is ultraviolet? And what do you do with that? Well, the ultraviolet light is very similar to a black light. So that shows the ultraviolet head. And that is the head that's changeable. That's it turned on, and it works like a black light. So at night, it actually brings out the fluorescence of the fish or the plants or the animals or the corals, and it makes it glow. And believe it or not, you can capture that on film. So if you wanted to get this fish glowing in the dark with its beautiful fluorescent colors, then you use that fluorescent light or the UV light. I don't know if you can tell with the bright lights here, but this kind of glows like a black light a little bit, right? And it underwater, you can see it and you can film it. So it's really kind of cool. So I know I didn't cover every kind of light out there, and I'm sorry about that. That would take forever. But we have done the research for you for a lot of them. If it's on our website and we're selling it, it's a good quality light. It's not junk. We've already researched them. You can find reviews for all of these lights and many more on our website to do your research, and then you have the descriptions from the manufacturers with all the specs and the features for them. So hopefully we've done some of the work for you. Hopefully we've taken this, maybe this large, inundating kind of, idea on which one you're going to choose, especially if you're newer, and we've helped narrow it down, to give you some ideas. Say, if you have questions that we haven't covered here, just leave them in the comments below and we'll get to them just as soon as we can. We have a lot of fun making these videos. Hopefully, it makes you smile. If you can think of someone else that might get benefit from these videos, why don't you share it with them? And you know how you can help us? Hit that like button. And if by some chance you haven't subscribed yet, hit the subscribe button, then we'll let you know when the next one comes out. Make it a great day.